Hey everybody, it's me, Remy, the comic book poser, and today we're going to talk about the top 8 books from last week's New Comic Book Day that I think you should pick up and check out if you didn't, after this.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11.
This was a really good week of new comic books. We're talking about everything that came out on September 16th of 2020, and there was not a single book that let me down. So, coming in at number 8 from DC is Batman number 99. This is the 5th part of the Joker War, and it's by James Tynion, Jorge Jimenez, and Tomeu Morey. Putting a Batman book on a list is a little bit out of character for me, but I think that really speaks to how good this story is, that the Bat family is coming back together, that Bruce decides he needs a team to be able to finally best the Joker and bring the things back to control, back under control by him or the Gotham PD. So there's a nice little reunion shot. But really what sells me on this book is the art, that Jorge Jimenez is just on fire in this series. And here's a nice little non-spoiler page that just really highlights how good the art he's doing on this book looks. It makes me really, really excited, I think for the first time ever, to read the next Batman book instead of just going, alright, it's time for me to get to Batman now. But it's very enjoyable. The intensity degree, the intensity is taken up to a different level. And that last panel where it's revealed what the Joker is doing is insane. Coming in at number 7 from Vault Comics is Money Shot number 8. It's by Tim Seeley, Sarah Beatty, Rebecca Isaacs, I can never remember Russell's first name, Kurt Michael Russell, and Crank on letters. Look, I'm going to talk about this book for like 8 seconds, and it's what sells me on its greatness is page number 2. The president, who is a very Trump-like evangelical figure in the previous book, goes to the planet Kakanane to assist the scientists on their mission, and then you find out that he is engaging in sex acts with aliens and doing a bunch of other things that he promised not to do. And what this page essentially shows is somebody from the media showing supporters of the president that he's engaging in all of this bad and shady stuff, and they all of a sudden turn around and make him the hero of the situation and not a hypocrite. So they've got their thumb on a political pulse. That's some of the best social commentary I've seen out of any form of media in the last several years, and it's highly enjoyable. The rest of the story, they're getting, ready to find out why they're being potentially run off a planet and if there are graver galactic repercussions for this mission. So it's a good read. I'm never not going to put Money Shot on my top. Coming in at number 6 is Devil's Highway number 3. It's by Benjamin Percy, Brent Schoonover, and Nick Filardi. This book also has its hooks in me from the beginning. The previous issue kind of ends on this note that the trucking industry is being used for all kinds of nefarious purposes, and they are bringing it back in the direction of looking at like the impacts that this cult-like underground organization might have. And I will tell you this, I am a big puss who's terrified of snakes, and this book does even more. This particular issue does more to make me terrified of snakes, looking at how they're handled and weaponized throughout this issue. But again, this is building up to a huge point of insanity at the end of book number 3, and we know that there are only 2 more left, and I would have some degree of doubt in their ability to stick the landing, but we've seen in the other limited issue runs that have already concluded for AWA that they can stick the landing, and it leaves you satisfying and hoping there's either more, or you figure more out about kind of this connected, shared universe that they're building. In at number 5, from Aftershock is Dead Day number 3. It's by Ryan Parrott with art by Evgeny Bornyakov, colors by Juan Cho, and Charles Pritchett on the letters. This again is a book dealing with some fallout after we see kind of what has been happening to the members of the family who have all left the house during Dead Day. We see the wife with her dead husband confront the man who killed him. We see the son go off to like this revivalist cult thing in the woods, and everything slowly starts to fall down around them. And here's just kind of this weird, kind of colorful and serene, but really, really creepy setup of what's happening with the cult. I think Ryan Parrott has told one hell of a story in here. I really, really want to read the next issue right now based on what happens in the last 2 or 3 pages, and does it look like from under discovering some of the actions of like this revivalist cult, are we going to finally figure out maybe what causes Dead Day or what causes it to be so infrequent? I don't know. It's a real good book. Y'all should read it if you're not. Buy it. Ryan Parrott is nailing it. Real good. Coming in at number 4, another one from Vault Comics. It's Heavy number 1. It's written by Max Bemis, Eric Donovan, Chris Peter, and Taylor Esposito. For the 3rd time this week, I will give a shout out to my boy Cole from the Comic Burrito. I would not have read this book if it weren't for him going, "Hey, you remember Max Bemis from Say Anything?" And I was like, "Yeah." He writes comics, and I went, "What?" This isn't even his first comic, y'all. I gotta go by like a long, long road of Max Bemis books. But this one is quite dope. So you have this man who is living in the big wait. So think of The Punisher, where Frank Castle's family gets murdered, and his story the whole time is how he's going to get revenge or seek vengeance for his family. Well, imagine if Frank Castle died at the same time the rest of his family did. And he ends up in the big wait, which is kind of this purgatory-like place where he now has a job immediately and has to earn something. Like, it's not money, it's like brownie points. He has to earn enough credit to be able to ascend to his final resting place, to be able to meet with his wife. So it's all him kind of grinding through his daily existence of killing people and righting the wrongs of the tree of the multiverse for him to be able to spend more time with his wife. So we get a lot of big loner moments, but when we find out his big mission for this book, like, this shows you how cool the art is in terms of him hopping into a post-Renaissance period in history to take down, of all people, and I can't show that page because there's a penis on it. There's a penis on that one. I'll just cover it up. He is taking on Leonardo da Vinci, who has been using all of his brilliance and inventions for evil. So it's like killing another version of Hitler. I like this because the language is raw and gritty. He speaks someone who is a bad action hero would. I mean, he beats up a kid for being a bully at the beginning. He has to destroy Leonardo da Vinci in the next section. So I want to see what kind of absurdity that Bemis and his team have thrown together for the rest of this, but I thought this book was really, really cool. Coming in at number 3, Once and Future number 11. It's from Boom Studios by Kieran Gillen, Dan Mora, and Tamara Bonvillain. I have not laughed this hard at a comic book in ages, and while there have been funny moments in Once and Future throughout this, especially as Duncan is trying to really figure out the world of monster hunting that Gran has drug him into. Like, the battle between Duncan, Gran, and Grendel, to me, is just hysterical in terms of some of the language that they use. And then the best part, like, clearly they're going to be successful because they're not going to kill one or both of them off yet. But when they have to go back in the old folks' home and kind of explain what they all saw, Gran's like tactics to make everybody believe it's just you're old and this was a hallucination is really, really funny. And then there's a lot of like really, really, really dark comedy in the last 2 pages of the reveal of who the next threat that they're going to have to worry about is. So this is one of my favorite reads, especially as it pulls to a lot of accurate elements of literary history that it really makes me appreciate the fact that the writers have done their homework. Coming in at number 2 from Image Skybound is Stillwater number 1 by Chip Zdarsky, Ramon K. Perez, and Mike Spicer. I have talked about this book, I think, on all 3 shows that I've been on this week. That I talked about it on Lost in Comics, I've talked about it on the weekly podcast that we resumed at Chops Comics this week, and hey, check out my podcast through Chops Comics. I'll put a link down in the description, but we're back, baby, and it was fun. And then I'm talking about it now. So I love Chip Zdarsky. What you have is a man who's a big screw up, can't hold a job because he's got, a tendency for violence, goes to a bar, gets drunk the night he's fired, and wakes up the next morning hungover with his ass whooped, and has someone knocking at his door requesting that he shows up to the town of Stillwater because he's receiving an inheritance from his great-grand aunt, which sounds like a made-up, family position. And as they travel to Stillwater, they stop at a gas station. His buddy asks the clerk about the town, and she has no idea what it is or what he's talking about. They turn off the main stretch of highway onto this like creepy backwoods like dirt path, and they're immediately pulled over by the police. He shows that he's got this summons, and the sheriff lets him into town. But then everything seems weird, right? There are no signs. Everybody's looking at these outsiders like they're lepers, and all of a sudden the main character sees a kid fall off a building and go sploosh on the ground, and he's starting to scream about where a doctor is and where's a hospital, and everybody looks at him like, what the hell's wrong with you? Why are you concerned? And when he takes him into the doctor's or into a practicing family practice office, doctor's like, yeah, things are a little weird here, and he finds out that people can't die, and he immediately freaks out and then has to deal with the locals going, yeah, I know your trouble. So this has a really weird Twilight Zone feel to it in both the way the story is told, but also kind of the eeriness of the art, where it feels like you're in an Invasion of the Body Snatchers style town, but you're constantly left wondering what Chip Zdarsky's going to throw at you. And I've read a lot of things by Chip, and he's not right in the head, and I really love him about that. But it also means that all of his stories are going to be wildly unpredictable, which means I, as a reader, can't rest on my laurels and just assume that I'm going to be safe in intuitively guessing what happens in the story, that he's going to keep, throwing right and left hooks and keeping me dodging and guessing, and I'm going to love that. So this would have been my pick of the week if I don't want to give a tip of the cap to my final pick. Coming in at number 1, I think this is my 3rd book from Vault this week, is Finger Guns, number 5, by Justin Richards, Val Halverson, Rebecca Nalty, and Taylor Esposito. Not only did I get my A cover, but I also got my sweet-ass wraparound Jen Hickman variant. I hope y'all read this book. I hope y'all have picked up this series, or if you can't find the singles, buy the trade. This was a good wrapping up style book to piece together the relationship between Wes and Sadie after the big incident with her father at the conclusion of book 4. Watching both of them grow as people, in addition to figuring out what they can or cannot do with their powers, and if Sadie can do anything with her powers now that she's got a finger that's being reattached. Not a spoiler, it happened in book 4. But then looking at You know, do they figure out how to stay together and thrive? Do they run away and try and start a new life or find something safe? Do they both go the same path? Do they go their separate ways? This series, to me, just sang. This was Justin Richards' first comic book, and he hit the ball out of the park. I cannot say anything but amazing things in terms of the art that Val Halverson and Rebecca Nolte have put together on this book. And then Taylor Esposito finds the right font, the right, you know, combination of things that letterers do at the right time. And this book just was a symphony to me. And in my interview with Justin from a couple weeks ago, I think it was before book 4 came out, I've lost track of COVID time, he said, you know, he likes endings, which a lot of writers do. There is a way that if the numbers justify and Vault says, you know, put together a second arc could happen, but if not, you get a nice kind of, I won't say happy ending, but you do get those kinds of feelings of closure towards the end of the book. This was something that I missed the first one on, had to find it. You know, it was willed and faded into my hands from a dollar bin. When I picked up issue 2 for my LCS, he said he wanted to wait and see if Diamond could send me a clean copy because it came in damaged, and I was like, I think this will be the first book where I own every single cover for it because it's become one of my favorite reads. It's something that I think a lot of people, regardless of your age, sex, gender, race, social location, is something that you can relate to because we all have elements of either dealing with doubting who we are and what we are capable of, or trying to relate to other people that may have flaws in them like we all do. And you get both of those things from this story in a quite beautiful way. And if this is the last time that I will get to read some Finger Guns or some new Finger Guns, then I'll be sad. But I'm excited to see everything that the rest of this creative team does. Amazing. So what'd you think? You know what else I read this week. If you watched my pull list video, there was a lot of stuff in there. Is there anything I should have ranked higher or lower? You got questions about other books that I read and you want to know how I really think? Let me know now down in the comments below. I'm also on the slow road to hitting 500 that I think I was at around 420 subscribers this morning when I filmed it. Once I hit 450, I will release the giveaway and the steps you can take to earn a spot in the giveaway once I hit 450. So keep an eye out for those things. And as always, thanks for checking me out. Hit that thumbs up, hit that subscribe. Give me some comments on what I suck at. Tell me what you like about what I'm doing as I continue to change around some of the things I do in videos that I'm trying to grow. I'm trying to create things that you, the audience, would love to see. So let me know. Help me help you. And that's it. So as always, thanks for stopping by and have a good one.